What's up, guys? It's Caliber here.
Yeah, it's your boy the Beast.
And I am Taro, your friendly neighborhood attack helicopter.
I thought that was my thing. Alright, well, I guess we're both attack helicopters. Anyways, it is Modmouth.
Mudmouth. Womp womp womp.
And today we are coming to vape terminologies.
Vape terminology.
So I'm going to let Beast start on this one, because he's the OG in vaping here.
Right, okay. I guess we'll go on to me. Oh, we'll do this. We're going to be talking about some tanks, and we'll probably do some RDAs as well.
Well, I'll cover the RDA side, because I have a vast more knowledge with that one.
Yeah, whatever. I'm just saying we're going to be doing it. I didn't say we were going to go in it now, but anyway. Basically is what you're going to be having here. Is, some people might not know the proper terminology.
God, look how short that drip tip is.
Oh, yeah, I know, right? La da da. Anyway, right. We'll start with the drip tip. Then you have the chimney section inside. This is usually like a top cap, I would guess.
Yeah.
And this right here would be your coil head, which is like Rat Meow, where the coils are. Bernie. So glass section would be what your glass section would be your tank area. And on the bottom here is where your airflow and everything. You have your airflow adjustment ring and your 510 pin on the bottom. And then that would be where your threading and all that stuff would go on your mod.
Yeah. Well, you don't forget the O-rings that fit into the glass tube to keep everything together.
Yep.
As well
So you
as
can't
these
see 'em.
little bands a lot of people have to protect your tank when it hits the floor.
Yeah, but that's not really. That's just more for protection and all that jazz.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, you can put it on there. I can tell you right now, they actually do work, because I've literally dropped my RDTA when it had the I had a little vape band. I don't know where it's at. Lost my vape band. Fuck it. Oh, here it is. Here's my little vape band. These also, believe it or not, are good for getting your caps off.
Oh, well, that would be good.
Because sometimes that plastic gets slick.
Yes.
But
it does.
it provides good grip because it's rubber.
Yes.
But
Good points.
I've dropped my my Serpent RDTA with it on there. I didn't shatter my glass tube, so
Nice.
I prefer drippers. Now, a dripper, also known as a rebuildable dripping atomizer, and there's really not too much that goes on with them. You just have your post right here for your coils, and then you have. Well, this one has a non-existent deck, so let me get something else.
Yes.
Well,
While he's doing that, Beast, can you explain what an ohm is?
Yes. Ohm is a measurement of resistance, and that is correlating. If you go by like ohms and all that stuff, it's like that's the resistance of your coil. So you would take the resistance of your coil, and then it would go by the your wattage, which would reduce like volts. So basically, you would have all three numbers, and that would correlate into like what you're vaping at.
all right.
Yeah, because it goes based. I mean, you got like different other correlations. Like you got amps in there too. I mean, you don't want to like over like for battery safety, like that'll kind of tie into that. You don't want to kind of like go over your amperage, continuous amperage for your batteries. But your ohms is correlated with your basic resistance in your coil, and that's basically what's gonna what makes how do I put this? Basically, when the power goes through it, that's what it's basically got to fight against. That much resistance, basically.
Yeah. So obviously, but I actually meant. Oh God, I gotta change that cotton. Too many 300-watt pulls went through those coils. So we'll get to that here in a second, because we are going to talk about wattage a little bit more. But so this is your deck, also commonly known as a juice well. Now, what that's for? Now, obviously, you're not going to see people run around with a 30 millimeter dripper. I happen to have one because, well, it was my first and I was insane. So yeah. But basically what that's there for is you can actually drip juice down into the juice well, and it kind of acts like a little mini tank.
Yes.
So, but with the dead rabbit, you kind of have to drip on the coils because there is no juice well there.
Yeah.
The juice well is
like-
probably about that thick.
Yeah. It's really small.
Yeah, it's tiny, but there's a vast majority of drippers that don't have any juice wells. I know the mesh doesn't have one. My mesh,
Right.
my Vanny Vape mesh, it doesn't have one. And there's juice wells like this, which I think I don't know how deep this is. I don't have calipers or anything to check the depth, but it's pretty deep. It's like a little mini tank, and then you have the what was it? The Mason 40 millimeter
Mm-hmm.
that had a somewhat deep juice well on it, but you can put a lot of coils in that, and that's more advanced.
Yes.
But the basic function of a dripper is honestly, they provide two things: mass amounts of clouds and flavor. Well, depending on which one you get. This one is competition, so it's not going to put out much flavor.
Right.
Also, something that RDAs provide is if you are a compulsive juice switcher like me, it's significantly easier to change flavors with RDAs than it is with a tank.
That is true. That is true. Um.
Then we move on to wattage. So wattage in regulated is basically autopilot. So what you there's three factors there, and you don't really. All right, so we're gonna base it down a little bit. With regulateds, amperage doesn't really matter because your amperage is not all in void there, so you don't have to worry about that. But you do want to watch for that type of stuff. Even on regulated, I always recommend watch your amperage and so on and so forth. But the two main factors you have, depending on what mod it is, you have variable voltage and variable wattage. Now, variable voltage is well, it's simply what it is. You're taking whether it be one or two batteries, and you're controlling how much voltage actually comes out and powers that coil. By most of the time, it's on traditional variable voltage mods like the Tesla Invader 3, it's usually done by a potentiometer. So it's a little potentiometer, but I've seen some, like the, what is it? The Aspire Speeder is also variable voltage as well as variable wattage. So it's all done by a computer.
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, there's computer little tiny circuit boards in the traditional variable voltage mods, but it's nothing like you have in a regulated variable wattage, variable voltage. So
Right.
now, variable wattage is basically, it's the wattage, like it controls how much power it actually goes to your coil. So say like, I don't know the proper terminology for this, so if I'm wrong, please forgive me. But let's see, it's 4 volts here. So with this build, to reach 4 volts, I need to get to 100 watts. So variable wattage is sort of like autopilot for your mod.
Right.
So, like, say if your resistance changes, Rip Trippers actually covered this, so I do know a little bit about this. Say if your resistance changes on a variable voltage where you're going to have to constantly adjust to get it back where you want it and keep adjusting. Well, with variable wattage, if your resistance changes, well, the wattage, you can keep the wattage set where it's at, and it's going to automatically adjust the voltage.
Right.
So that's a difference, and then you have what are called mechanicals. Now, mechanicals and unregulateds have no protection in them, and they're more sought after by the advanced users, such as myself.
Right. And that has that one right there. That one's more of like you got what you're like. Usually it's like 4.2, and then it goes like
Yeah. Well,
most
you're
people.
now all right. So speaking on that, because I knew you were gonna say that. Believe it or not, whenever you put a build and you fire that build, it's not directly seeing 4.2 volts because you have to account for voltage drop.
Right.
So voltage drop can be anywhere from 4 volts to maybe even 3.5, somewhere in between there. The odds of you always seeing 4.2 is very slim to none because every mechanical unregulated. I mean, the pulse, for example, you even know the pulse had a voltage drop.
Oh yeah, the button. Mm-hmm.
The fact of the matter is, and this is where kind of hybrids came into play to negate that voltage drop. The more moving parts you have in a mechanical mod, the more voltage drop you're gonna have.
Yep.
So in the case of a hybrid, you remove that 510 pin and just have a direct connection. Less moving parts, less voltage drop.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why, if you look at me, whenever I do vape on my mechanical, if I swap between. Wait till she readjusts.
Oh, it's all good. We just had technical difficulties.
Yeah, technical difficulties. Shit happens. But if you notice, whenever I vape on my mechanical, my Tsunami, when I swap between the two caps, you notice my stuff doesn't hit as hard when I use the cap with the 510 pin.
Yeah.
And that's because that pin's there and I'm having voltage drop. Now, that's very little because my stuff still hits as hard, just not as hard as it would with the actual Tsunami RDA, the 25 millimeter RDA. So, but that's pretty much it for me at this point. So, you got any more stuff you want to talk about, Beast?
I guess I did want to bring up the Templar. I guess did I bring up the Templar already? I don't think I did yet. Oh, go ahead. You go ahead first.
Okay. I just wanted to, because we talked about tanks and RDAs, and I just wanted to talk about what an RDTA is, and it's really easy. And I'm just going to contribute with this. An RDTA is basically a rebuildable atomizer that sits on top of a tank. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Or does it sit under?
Yeah, it's on top.
It sits on top, yeah. So, and then there is a squonk, which is a pin that changes in the bottom. It's the, what is it, the 510 pin that changes?
Mm-hmm.
510 pin changes to like this pin that has a little hole in it, and it sits on top of a usually unregulated mod that has this little bottle that you fill with juice, and you can push the little button, it sprays up into the RDA. So those are two pretty cool things, but they're pretty self-explanatory. So
Right.
yes, now talk about the Templar.
Oh yeah, I want to bring up the Templar because I think it's got a cool design. It's not only is the build deck really cool, I think, with that clamp design it's kind of got like I want to call it like a collapsible velocity / goon style, like clamp style. It's just crazy.
It's an interesting deck.
It's a single coil deck, or no, it's a dual coil. It's a dual coil or single?
Dual.
Dual coil, yes, dual coil. And I think it does come with like a block you can put in there if you want to do single coil too. But the one thing I think that's kind of interesting that it comes with, other than the regular cap that it comes with, like it comes like in your regular stainless cap, it comes with a clear cap, which I think is kind of interesting because I know it's been out for a while, like with a higher end mods or higher end like RDAs and all that such.
Well, the dot mods and all that.
Yeah, exactly. But I think it's kind of cool that they brought something down to a lower price range, and it's still, I think it's a well put together RDA so far that I've seen of it. I want to get one, and when I get one, we'll do like review on it. But I think from what I've seen of it and like what I've seen reviewers, like other reviewers do, I think it looks like a pretty decent RDA for the price.
Yeah. Well, there was one that actually used glass for it, and that was the Fishbone.
Oh yeah.
You remember that?
I know I know the Theron did, but that was theoretically that was a tank in itself, the Theron tank, that Genesis style tank. I know they did it too, but That's another good freaking style too. Genesis style tanks
Yeah.
are pretty fun to play with.
Now, let's get into drip tips because there's so many types of drip tips out there.
Yes.
You have 510, and I don't know what. I believe the Cloud Beast is also 810.
It is, but it doesn't have an O-ring.
All right, so it doesn't have an O-ring.
But if you get a snug enough fit like this one here, I'm using an 810, and it actually it's snug in there, and I don't have to worry about the O-ring. It just not does have O-ring.
But Cloud Beast uses 810. A lot of drippers that are coming out nowadays, and even some tanks, like the almost dropped my Milo 300, but the Keelan RTA, which this is a rebuildable tank atomizer, and this also uses an 810.
Nice.
So as you see, there's no O-ring there. It's smooth bore. The O-ring actually sits down in here.
Nice. And there's also the old-fashioned 510.
Yeah,
Is that what this is? What is
Yeah.
this?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Which basically, the thing about it, it's a smaller diameter, and it's got O-rings actually on the drip tip instead of on inside the
Yeah.
actual top.
Then you got odd and end drip tips like this. Let's see if I can get it off of here. I may not be able to. Alright, there we go. And then you got drip tips like this, which are proprietary.
Nice.
This is custom made for the temple, and this is the one it came with. That's all it is. And then we have everybody's favorite. Let's see where. We have everybody's favorite chuff caps.
Oh, I love chuff caps.
What's a chuck cap?
Well, it's a chuff cap. It's another proprietary type thing. But it's not too proprietary. A lot of drippers will utilize these.
Mm-hmm.
And I so happens I have one that actually fits the Tsunami.
It basically replaces the top cap itself.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's different. But
It's kinda like
there's
the,
a lot of drip tips, and then you have some that are proprietary or built on. Say like the Moonshot, for example.
Yes, I don't have that right now next to me, but yes, they have one that's built in.
Well, I got a
And then-
I got a tank that uses a really, really weird proprietary drip tip. That is the Aspire Athos tank, which is leaking for some odd reason.
It's leaking right now, I found out.
See?
Oh, that is nifty.
It fits on like this. It's sort of your reverse 8 or your reverse 810.
That's nifty though, I like that.
I don't because I have a lot of 510 drip tips.
Oh yeah, but I'm just saying I think it's pretty nifty. I mean, I like that I like when they're mostly standardized, but like every now and then it's nice to get like an oddball.
Now we definitely have to move over to juice because there's a lot of different types of bottles, and you'll commonly hear somebody say a unicorn or a gorilla or something along those lines. So
Yeah.
this is a gorilla bottle. I actually, for some reason, I save my bottles. I guess whenever I just like having a collection of bottles. That's a 120.
Yeah.
All right, so that's a gorilla bottle as well. This is, I don't know if would be a gorilla or a unicorn. The unicorn bottles look like this.
Yep, that's a unicorn bottle. Yep.
So this is a unicorn bottle. I don't know.
What's the top? What's the top look like when you like the actual on the other one? I mean to say.
The one that you don't know what it is.
Yeah.
It looks like that one and that one combined.
Yeah, that's a regular gorilla. These ones right here are called chubby gorillas.
Chubbies.
Yep, chubby gorillas.
Yeah, and then you have your unicorn bottles.
Then you have these bottles. which are theoretically supposed to be a unicorn. They still call them, but they're just
Those look like tattoo ink bottles.
don't they?
Yeah, they do. Which I'm pretty sure they probably get their bottles from the same place.
Oh, I would
Yeah,
say
same
yeah.
manufacturer.
You never know.
Then you have your glass drippers with the eye, basically like a little drip
Yeah, like these
eyelet drippers. Yep.
little droppers. I personally, I hate these.
I do too. I absolutely do.
I like them because I feel like a chemist.
Yeah, well, that does make sense.
I return to my high school days when I was doing bacteria swabs in a petri dish.
I mean, these have their place. I just prefer, especially when I'm out and about, I don't want to carry a big bottle like this because then it's just too cumbersome. So I usually, typically, if they have the juice in this, I buy this.
Yeah, I mean, I bought the Chubby Grill just because of price range. I mean, they're usually like I got this. This one was actually a free bottle, which is from our previous video. But I usually get this saw because you can get it between like $25-$30,
Which isn't bad.
usually, which isn't bad for 120 mils. And but yeah, then you got your. I think if we're going to talk about juice, I think we got to talk about the breakdown between VG and PG type of deal.
Yeah.
I think is what is the best thing to do next.
Typically nowadays you'll see 70-30s and 80-20s. So that's the ratio between VG and PG. So 80 VG, 20 PG, 70 VG, 20 PG. And sometimes you can find 50-50 blends. It's not really.
You can get them from customizers, and I don't really see them a lot on the shelves anymore. I mean, there probably is a bit somewhere if you find them. Look for them.
Yeah.
That is.
Well, I know some sites will allow you to get it in a 50-50 mix.
Yeah, like I said, the ones that you can usually get ones that like the mixers and stuff, or like I know, like the place we got over here that actually makes their own juice. It's Puckerfish. They'll do a blend for you, like any blend you want, and then same as I think it's a site that I used to use. They're out of Michigan. They're called Mr. E Liquids.
Mm-hmm.
And they do the same thing. And they got really good juice. If anybody wants juice to try it out, like some crazy flavors, they got some pretty crazy flavors.
Yeah, I definitely one flavor I definitely love in a vape juice is maple syrup.
Ooh, that would be good.
It'd be very sweet.
Yes, it would.
B-Sats and maple syrup from Canada. And the best part about vaping in a whole is there's so many flavors out there. So many. I've tried over a dozen flavors now in my year of vaping. B says, how many think you tried?
I can't even count. I mean,
You've been vaping for
owned a
10.
dozen flavors.
Yeah, she owns a dozen flavors. I've probably tried at least close to 500 flavors in my year of vaping.
yeah, I used to try a lot of them. Like I even tried the off the wall ones, like when they tried to recreate Mountain Dew and like Monster Energy drinks and all that kind of stuff, which is kind of good actually. But they even had like
Yeah, believe it or not, Kyle Minnick actually had a Mountain Dew flavored e-juice.
yeah, they're really good. I think that's kind of cool when they make that because it almost has the fizziness in it somehow, and I don't know how they produce that, but it's crazy. But
Anyway, is there anything else we need to cover?
Well, we could cover rebuilding coils or installing coils.
That's
Something.
not terminology.
could be. I mean, whatever you want to do.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm good. I mean,
I'm good.
if you want to go on, if you want
All right,
to, you can.
so there's two ways. We're going back to drippers real quick. Or any rebuildable for that matter. There's two ways of actually going about it. You can, and this is where terminology actually comes into play. Pre-mades. Pre-mades are these. Well, I got some in here that I personally built, but pre-mades. Actually, we'll grab a Clapton here. These are pre-mades. So they're formed in a mass factory. They're turned around. I wouldn't doubt it if they didn't use robotics.
No, they could have been, yeah.
But I think they wrap them around a machine. They count how many wraps and so on and so forth. And this is what I personally recommend if you're getting into rebuilding. It's what I
Oh,
recommended him.
Oh yeah, that's got them too. I mean, I wrap.
What are those, demon killers?
They are.
Good man. These are also demon killers.
Nice. But yeah,
But
then you got like your different. Then you got different wires too. If you want to go into, I mean, like if you want to do, they got like, obviously a round wire and like what you're gonna be material wise. I mean, you got your Canthol, you got your stainless steel, you got your nichrome.
all right, here's terminology. The most things you'll see people type out or like talk about, like whether they say N80 or KA or KA1 or something like that, or is it KA1?
KA1.
KA1. So KA1 stands for A1 Canthol or Canthol A1. And this is it right here. These come in what, a 50-foot spool?
Yeah. That's
Now,
pretty much
N80 is kind of self-explanatory. It stands for nichrome 80. And you have nickel 200, which personally I wouldn't want to build with.
right.
And you're just having all types of issues over there, aren't you?
Apparently.
But I personally wouldn't build with nickel 200. She actually has a reason why.
You can get nickel poisoning from inhaling it.
Yeah.
If it gets too high of a temperature, you can very easily get nickel poisoning.
I know a lot of people who actually do vape it, but they vape that in temperature control where they can control. And most mods will have it set to where it needs to be, so you don't fucking kill your lungs. But I just personally wouldn't do it. But no, you have titanium and all that. TiSS, stainless steel. There's a lot of wires out there. But I think that's pretty much it. I think we covered everything. Anyways, guys, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like down below. Don't forget to comment and subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe to them too. His is S13_the_beast. And hers is Terror Storm. Anyways, guys, this is Storm Family signing out.